All right. Hey, everyone. We are live and direct. And I
What?
had I had to start it off with live and direct, coming to you from Michigan, and Kimberlee Meserve coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts on this Tuesday. And the reason why I wanted to have Kimberlee on today for kind of like this pop-up, it's like a pop-up webinar interview, is because I want to talk about opportunities. And opportunities are kind of like Kimberlee's jammy jam in the sense that it's her favorite feature in command. It holds her accountable like nothing before. And as you saw in the post, it says she has a pipeline with a probable, I always get us confused, probable or potential, probable or potential.
Potential.
It's a potential, right? Potential income of over $810,000 in the pipeline. And what I want to talk about is not all of opportunities, right? I don't want to talk about every single phase. I want to talk about one phase in particular. I want to talk about cultivate. And I want to talk about why that's so important and why so many agents don't realize the importance of cultivate, and they only put a contact in an opportunity phase when they like sign an agreement. Have you noticed that, Kimberlee? By the way, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I was going to question our friendship for a second because I thought you couldn't remember where I lived. I was like, oh gosh. I had a little hesitation there for a second.
No,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You're so serious today.
I'm not serious. Let's go.
I don't understand why people only put things in like once they have an agreement. I love, what's that, like Sarah Jessica Parker was, or Sex in the City, she's like, I love to see my money in my closet or something like that. I'm like, right. I love to see my money in my pipeline.
Yeah, no, and so I want to talk about that. So talk about the different phases. You have cultivate, appointment, active, right?
Yeah.
And so you agree with me in the sense that agents are really only using opportunities when they have a client that they're actively starting to work with, right?
Yeah. So I think the problem is so many agents, like they just come up with an idea of like how many houses they want to sell. And then it's just like whatever business comes their way. And I think of this like funny story. We had a new team leader in our market center at the beginning of this year, and he met with all the top 20%. And I was the last person he met with. And he was like, what's your goal for this year? And I told him what it was. And he was like, how are you going to do that? And I was like, well, let me drop the mic here for a second. This is what my pipeline looks like. And this is what I do for activities. This is the results I tend to get. Like I have my whole business measured out for the year. And so like the goal is, we want to be able to create predictable businesses. So right now, like I'm really focused on, I have more than enough pipeline to hit my goal for this year. So I'm focused on what are my opportunities for next year so that I can have a consistent business and not just be like, when's my next thing coming?
Oh, okay. I thought you were like mid-sentence.
No.
It was like you were mid-sentence and I didn't know there was like no period at the end of that. Anyway, so okay. So then I want you to talk about how important cultivate is to you and how that keeps your pipeline going. Would you say that cultivate is essentially your lead generation, right? Like putting enough people in there where every day there's somebody to follow up with, right?
Yeah. So like one of the job descriptions is we want to lead generate and then we want to lead follow up. Like once I've generated that lead, anybody who's raised their hand as expressing interest in buying or selling, they're going into cultivate. And then that becomes my lead follow-up. So all I have to do is just log into my opportunities and see like, okay, who do I need to follow up with? Like who is kind of in like a nurture phase, who's maybe a little bit warmer, who's getting hotter, that I can start to move towards an appointment. So the idea is to just be like taking people through these steps along the way.
All right. So tell me about, and people watching, how are you building that cultivation phase and staying in touch systematically with those people to move them through the different phases so they turn into a client who's actively looking to buy or sell?
Well, it kind of depends on the person. So I have some people that I'll put anybody that really just has expressed any interest that's like less than 2 years. So 12 to 18 months, like they'll go into Cultivate. So I run the biggest first time home buyer workshop in Boston. And so I always have like, I know every single event I have a certain percentage are going to be ready to go. We can set an appointment, get them on the path to buying. Then there's always like people that are maybe 3 to 6 months out. And then there's people that are going to be longer term. Like maybe they realize they have to save up more money or they have credit issues. And so like now I'm talking to a lot of people that are going to be next year buyers. And so they're going into Cultivate. And then depending on where they're at in the process, I'm following up accordingly. So nobody goes longer than 90 days without getting some type of touch from me. It usually ends up being a lot more than that, especially because the bulk of my people have come from like one similar event. So I can group them into just a specific follow-up for anybody that's attended the events. And that like goes along with having a monthly email with like our upcoming events. Cause sometimes people actually want to come to a second event for a refresher. So they're getting dripped on constantly. And then the people that are a little bit closer, it's like, oh, hey, you know, check in with me in like 2 months, we're going to be ready to go. So it kind of depends on each person, but I'm putting follow-up like task reminders in with everybody accordingly.
All right. So what do the touches look like? I mean, are they nurtures? Are they emails? Are they texts? Are they phone calls? Are they listings? You know, when somebody, okay, so let me back up. You mentioned that you do these homebuyer seminars and you used to do them in person and now they're virtual. And we're not going to get into how you're doing those because there's plenty out there on the interwebs about how Kimberlee does her digital or virtual homebuyer seminars. But when you put someone in Cultivate who's, you know, 18 to 24 months out, what's the touches look like, right? Because it's very different than someone who says I'm 9 months out and someone who's 18. So can you tell us how those differentiate and what you're sending them?
Yeah, so I know that a lot of people probably criticize me for this, but I'm very rarely calling them on the phone because I'm just a big believer in communicating with people in the way that they want to be communicated with. And 99% of the people that are coming to these events do not want to be called on the phone. So it's a combination of emails and texts. So the emails are usually like upcoming events, here's what's going on in the market. If somebody has a clear idea of like what areas they might be looking in or what like price point, I'll set them up on like a property alert because then I can really see like how actively they're engaging with that through our MLS. But if they're just vague, they don't really know what they're going to afford, they don't really know where they're going to live, they just know they want to buy something in the general area. Usually that's a check-in text, like at the most every 90 days, like, hey, just want to make sure your plan is still X. And then they're getting a monthly email with all the upcoming events because we also do a referral program through the events. So like, even if they're not going to be attending another event, they may have a friend that they might refer to the event. So it's just another like top of mind, mind share thing. And then I try to connect with people on Instagram too. That's a little side thing, but
yeah, that's cool. And you do a lot of Instagram stories and posts and so on and so forth. Show us what your dashboard for opportunities looks like, if you don't mind sharing your screen.
I need you to enable sharing.
Oh, yes, I will do that. Here we go. You are now host. I am taking all power away from me and giving it to you.
All right, let me see.
Now this could go anywhere. I have no power to this Zoom at all.
So this is my personal pipeline. So we've got a team.
Okay, before you say anything, yeah, Kimberlee's very buyer heavy because she does those buyer seminars. Let's look at her Cultivate, right? There's 25 people in there. That's about how much of a percentage is the Cultivate based on everything else, would you say?
Like chance of them converting?
No, like you have, no, go back to your pipeline real quick. Getting ahead of me. Okay, so you have 8 appointments, 32 active buyers, 7 under contract, 6 closed. And is that 6 closed? What's the time frame for those 6? When was
just in this month.
Oh, this month.
Yeah.
But you have 25 in Cultivate for just this month or for the year?
No, so everything up until closed is just your cumulative.
Okay.
And then closed resets monthly.
So I want to say you have 25 in Cultivate, 32, and then 40, and then 47. So you have 47 across appointment, active, and under contract.
Yep.
and then 25 in Cultivate. I mean, that's a big percentage of your pipeline just in Cultivate. That's what I wanted to highlight. And agents aren't doing that.
Yeah.
And so,
And the cool thing is, like, it says right here, like, this is the volume. I would say 80% of people in Cultivate don't even have a number attached to them because I don't know what their budget will be. So like the dollar amount is going to be so much more than this.
But let's look at the average time that someone in Cultivate typically stays there. It's about 90 days. So you're moving them along that pipeline pretty quickly for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. The thing I think that skews a lot of my numbers is I am a huge believer, and I do things a little bit different than some people. I like to get into relationship with people as soon as possible. And that's kind of how I've built my whole business, is because Gary says like 78% of buyers will work with the first agent that they meet. So I always try to insert myself in as early as possible. And so even if you look at active, like that's a high number, 107, and it's probably a lot higher than some people's businesses. But I have 2 phases in active, and like I will sign anybody to buyer agency agreement as soon as they're like within a year. And then I've had a couple buyers that like it took them another year. So I like to like collect all the people into my world.
Yeah. So do you want to break down what so these are phases, and then under the phases are stages. Do you want to show us what kind of some of those stages look like?
Sure. So in Cultivate, I've got watch, nurture, and hot. Hot are people, it's kind of standard. Watch is like longer term. Nurture, maybe they're like getting a little closer. And this is all very fluid too. That's the thing I like about this, is like some people might move backwards in the process if something changes in their life. But it's so easy to just like move people around in here. You just drag it.
Whoa, like Trello.
Yeah, it is exactly like Trello. I think
That's what the
they
opportunity
intended.
Yeah.
Hot is like these guys, they're out of state. They can't really do anything. So they're not quite to appointment. They're like military, they've got all this other stuff going on. So it just kind of depends on the person. These are people that are a little bit closer. And then appointment, I have 3 phases. So scheduling, pretty obvious, working on scheduling an appointment, scheduled, and then kept. So I keep people in kept and I don't move them to active for a couple reasons. So one, we might have an appointment. This rarely happens because I usually don't meet with anybody until they've been pre-approved. But like, I'll give these guys an example. I met with them and they were like, yep, we are pre-approved for this amount, but we think we want to buy with our friend who is like doing this other thing. So it was just a little bit further out. I met with this guy. He has an idea of a budget, but he won't be able to buy until like next year because of some self-employment stuff. So I just kind of like kept him in here. I wasn't ready to push him into the active stage. So that's what this is. And then active, I have actually customized this. So you can edit the stages to however works for your business. So these are my 3 main stages. So signed searching, like I said, I will sign anybody to buyer agency like as soon as I can, because I like to like bring them into my world and show my value. And then it's also a mindset thing too. I think a lot of these people just feel like committed to working with me because they've said yes, even if they're further out. And we just build the relationship from there. So those are people that are like a little further out. They're not ready to go out, be shopping, putting offers in on places, but they're like actively looking, getting MLS updates, seeing what's going on in the market, actively showing. These are people that are out putting in offers, and then negotiations.
So I love that. I mean, I personally have never seen someone's opportunities feature in Command utilized to this extent. And, you're really purposeful with it. And I know that we talk pretty regularly in general. And a lot of the things that you say is that like just watching the pipeline move and the numbers go up, like really motivates you. And then it also, but who else? If you're motivated by money, that's all good. I think that you should be. And also seeing these people who are signed and searching, like, that these 18 people are people that you need to pay very close attention to.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't gone to see homes with you yet, right? But they're still looking online, and those are people that you would reach out to about how frequently, you think?
I'm constantly well, I just want to back up one thing and say I'm actually not motivated by money, which is the interesting thing. I'm more motivated by
So
what?
shallow.
So, no, I'm motivated by the win. So it's like, for me, it's like the number. It could be any number, whatever I set for a goal. It's like, I want to like get closer. And you and I kind of like half jokingly, but have seriously set a goal to get it to 1 million by mega camp. And so like that number could be 10,000. It could be 100,000. Like, it doesn't matter what the number is. It's just like, I want to hit that goal. So the sign searching people, it depends. So if they're actively engaging in like the MLS updates. So our MLS, you can see like how many times they've viewed properties, how often they've logged in. I'm constantly monitoring that. So they're always getting emails from me with the property drips. And then I'm usually checking in, like, it depends, maybe like every few weeks. Hey, do you want me to make any adjustments to your search at all? Saw you liked this property. Did you want me to get any more info on that? And if they're not engaging in the MLS search, then I'm checking in a little bit more frequently with them so that they're not going to like Zillow or Redfin for all their info.
Right. Gotcha. And I noticed you're not using tasks so much. I know we talked about that. There's a reason for it. And I can't remember why. Was there a reason for it?
It's just because I'm like a high D. And so I don't really want to go in and like do checklists, but my virtual assistant like went in and started making some checklists for people in different stages. So these are the ones that she's built out. And then we have them when they close too. So she has to go in and like update the tagging, update the smart plan. Cause when I close people, everybody they get their home anniversary put in, they get their neighborhood, and they get put on a neighborhood nurture. So they get those 2 smart plans automatically. And then I usually add them on Facebook, update their Facebook link in their profile, and then change the tagging around.
I love it. Well, you're very purposeful with it. And I wanted to just really drive home, like, her pipeline's filling up, and the cultivate phase is extremely important. It's something that we should all be paying very close attention to, because the way opportunities works is when you put someone in a phase and you enter, around the amount of price, around the price that they're looking in, it updates your potential income and your probable income. And so you're able to see like what your pipeline looks like. Like, there's a lot of times where agents go, oh, I have nothing in my pipeline, right? And so that's because there's nothing in Cultivate. I personally feel Cultivate is your pipeline. Anything past Cultivate is your right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything past, Cultivate is in the future, appointment and beyond is right now. And so in order to, and any business owner will look at it that way, so they know whether or not, they're becoming profitable and making money. So you guys got to start thinking in that sense. What do you think?
Yeah, it's your future business, right? So like, how can we be accurately projecting that we're going to hit a goal if we're just like waiting for the next thing that's just like popping up whenever? Like, when we are tracking our pipeline, when we're measuring these kind of key points, like, it's so much easier to have a predictable and scalable income. It's also, if you're interested in like growing a team or anything, it's a lot easier to make those decisions around hiring when you know what's in your pipeline. And it's not like you're just bringing on this person, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay them down the road. Like, it helps you make so much more informed decisions.
Yeah, like a business doesn't operate on right now business. They function and profit and operate on future business. And so start thinking like a business owner and start putting people in Cultivate and start building up that future business, because that's what's going to keep you afloat, and that's what's going to keep the money coming in so you can continue to run your business. Anyway, I know that you are pressed for time and you have to jump off. If you could stop sharing your screen for 1 second, because I have zero control right now. Zero. You know how that makes me feel. No. But I appreciate you jumping on for just 15, 20 minutes and talking about this, because it's a really important topic of conversation, and then not enough agents understand how and when they should start using it. So appreciate that. When Kimberlee gets to $1 million in potential income by Mega Camp, drinks on her all around.
No, because that means everybody in the country, since we're not having in person.
Listen,
All right.
you gotta Share it around. All right, Kimberlee, thanks so much. Have an awesome day. And, I'll just talk to you later. I'll just call,
Okay.
just text.
Bye.